Number 1. Adrift in Manhattan, 2007. A story of 3 characters who find the courage to move to the next stage of life through in-depth encounters with strangers they meet on their daily route. Rose, an optician who is paralyzed by destroying her sadness after the death of her baby, has built a wall around her, cannot connect with her estranged husband or anyone. One day, Rose, beautiful and moody in a life scarf, became the focus in the view of her camera. The photos he took became a channel for each of them to touch something deep inside and expand their confinement. Number 2. An American Affair, 2008. What if a boy's coming of age included a relationship with a woman in her 30s? In Washington, D.C., in the fall of 1963, junior high student Adam Stafford becomes obsessed with his new neighbor, Catherine Caswell. He steams open her mail, reads her diary, peers into her windows, and hides in her closet. CIA agents notice him, he sees them meet with her and with an anti-Castro Cuban. She hires Adam to work in her garden, and they become friends of sorts. Number 3. The Middle of the World, 2009. It is the story of the sexual awakening of Mingo, a young man with a certain mental retardation, charismatic and fantasy poet who pays attention to the most insignificant details of everyday life. Her new status as lover will bring her popularity and also problems. She will expose the prejudices and false morals of a blinded people who, to wash their guilt, will exact revenge with the death of the least guilty. Number 4. The Body, 2011. Layla and her boyfriend Yilmaz were in the film sector for 25 years in Germany. While ago, they moved to Istanbul and Yilmaz left him for another woman. Although they were separated, Yilmaz appeared with a last-minute request, one last film where Layla met Izzet, handsome but quite traumatic 20 years old. The age difference between Layla and Izzet, the unsolved problem of Izzet's fat mother and sister, Yilmaz's passion for her work and the results of each other crashing unexpectedly. Number 5. Natural Selection, 2011. Linda, a devout and barren Christian housewife, leads a protected life in a Texas suburb, reversed her world when she discovered that her godly husband had suffered a stroke at a sperm bank where he had secretly donated his seeds for the past 25 years. She learns that she has an illegitimate 23-year-old son named Raymond who lives in Florida. Somewhere on the edge of guilt and loneliness, she grants her last wishes and starts a strange journey to find Raymond and bring him back before her husband. Number 6. Nobody's Home, 2013. After her husband's death, Nurjan is left alone with her grown-up daughter Fariday and 2 younger children, Iker and Ozge. Little by little, the eldest child, Fariday, is forced by her mother to become the head of the family and shoulder all the responsibilities that entails. As the only son, devoted to his father's memory, Lker reacts fiercely when his sister Fariday takes charge, and feels alienated from the family. Ozge is unable to reach out to her mother or her sister, both of whom are wrapped up in their own grief. Number 7. No Thank You, 2014. Heli, an art teacher, still loves her husband, Mahdi, because, unfortunately, her husband shows no real intimacy in her and is only concerned with video games, subtle hints, beautiful words, sexy clothes and direct action. Whatever he does to seduce her is useless. Eventually he could not resist the temptation of his young student Yarno, and started a love affair with him, and finally found out what he really missed, but not everything went according to plan. Number 8. For My Brother, 2014. The 2 brothers Ask and Bastian live with their father, Lasse, in a world of fear, violence and alcohol, but the brothers' strong and close relationship means everything. Ask tries everything to keep his little brother out of it all so that he won't experience the same as himself. But one day Bastian is abused by their father. The brothers choose to move to Norway, far away in the beautiful mountains. Their friendship outshines everything. They are together and far away from their evil father. Number 9. The Maid, 2014. Jack, an emotionally troubled teenager living in the U.S., who travels to England to spend his upcoming birthday with his estranged dad, hoping to salvage their fragile relationship. Arriving at his dad's house, he is introduced to Maria, the beautiful and mysterious older foreign woman working there. When Maria learns about Jack's troubled life, she becomes emotionally attached to him, as his life story reminds her of her own troubled past. Jack also finds himself being emotionally drawn to Maria. Number 10. Real Belleza, 2015. The story of João, a photographer who looks for potential model candidates in cities in the interior of Rio Grande do Sul to relaunch his career. After many tests, he meets a young girl of rare beauty, Maria, but she does not show up for the second stage of the tests. While João tries to find her out of the city, he meets Anita, her middle-aged mother, who informs him that her husband, Pedro, does not want her to leave her studies and become a model, but João decides to wait for her return and he stays in their house, because he sees a great potential in her. Number 11. Souvenir, 2016. A forgotten singer, who once participated in Eurovision, meets a young boxer who will try to convince her to make a comeback. Liliane lives a modest and monotonous life. By day, she works in a pâté factory, and by night, she sits on the couch and watches TV. One day, a new worker named Jean arrives. The two form a platonic relationship, but Jean grows increasingly convinced that he recognizes Liliane from a European singing contest he saw as a child. Eventually, he convinces her to confront her past. Number 12. Faultlist, 2016. Having been fired from her old job as a real estate agent, 40-years-old Constance faces severe pecuniary issues. She cannot rent a flat anymore and she doesn't find another job in Paris. With no other options left, she decides to call her former boss, from the small agency in La Rochelle where she started her career. To her surprise, he tells her that he is actually hiring, as the housing market appears to be growing in the area. Number 13. The Other End, 2016. Diogo, 17, has a little quirk. He likes to call his mother's female therapy patients and masturbate while listening to them on the phone. One of these patients is Angela, 43, a woman who was just left by her husband. When Diogo calls Angela, she thinks it's her husband calling. But when she finds out it's Diogo, she's disgusted, she's furious, but, most of all, she's attracted to this person who showed so much interest in her. So what began as a very unusual relationship soon evolves into something positive for both of them. Number 14. Beyond the Mountains and Hills, 2016. Returning to civilian life after 27 years in the army isn't as easy as David had hoped. It's hard to re-establish daily contact with his family, with the dimension of his home and, above all, with the new Israel, an ultra-competitive society obsessed with success. Thus, the opportunity to join a company which produces nutritional supplements seems like a possible escape to be seized without hesitation, but David doesn't know how much his country has changed. Number 15. April's Daughter, 2017. The outgoing and happily pregnant 17-year-old, Valeria, decides to keep her condition to herself, living under the same roof with her polar opposite half-sister, Clara, in a cozy beach house in sunny Puerto Vallarta. However, the underage mother-to-be's carefree life will be abruptly interrupted, when a caring, non-judgmental, and totally supportive April arrives to check in on her girls. But why on earth hadn't the inexperienced Valeria sought for April's precious assistance earlier? After all, how can a mere child raise a kid on her own? Number 16. Disappearance, 2017. An ill Dutch woman visits her family in Norway in hopes of reconnecting with her estranged mother. Roos visits her mother in Norway yearly, but this time it's different. She brings bad news. However, old pain and numerous reproaches keep Roos from sharing anything with her mother. With the help of her half-brother and old love, the two women reconcile and Roos is ready to take her next and inescapable step. Number 17. Les salopes or the naturally wanton pleasure of skin, 2018. Revealing women, showing men, dermatology professor Marie Claire is embarking on a new project linking skin cells and sexuality, when unexpected events disrupt her professional, family and intimate life. The skin's natural sweetness and secretions reveal a great deal about a woman's sexuality, what is beautiful, complex and subversive, as well as how men aesthetically respond to it all. Number 18. Backroads, 2018. Backroads centers on a young man stuck in the Pennsylvania backwoods caring for his 3 younger sisters after the shooting death of his abusive father and the arrest of his mother. Family secrets and unspoken truths threaten to consume him. Harley Altmeyer has to care for his 3 sisters after his mother is placed in jail for killing his abusive father. Living in the coal town of Laurel Falls in the backwoods of western Pennsylvania, Harley lusts after a mother of 2 who lives down the road. Number 19. Escape at Dannymora. 2018. Tilly, a married employee working in a prison in upstate New York, became romantically involved with a pair of prisoners and helped them escape. This limited series is based on the story of a stranger and not fiction about a prison break in upstate New York in the summer that gave birth to a massive hunt for 2 convicted killers. Number 20. Golden Youth. 2019. Rose, a 16-year-old girl who was abandoned by her parents and taken in by social services, and her fiancé, 22-year-old Michel, are enjoying their first great and innocent love affair in Paris in 1979 at the height of the popularity of the La Palace nightclub. They are part of the trendy bunch who only live for partying and exuberance. At a party one evening, they meet Lucille and Hubert, a couple of 50-something middle-class bohemians,